Hello, my name is Matt Taylor. I want to share something a little bit about myself. I have a condition called Asperger's syndrome. This condition is something that affects the brain. We will get to that later. However, my point is, it is a rare condition, and I want to share with you someone who has Asperger's, their perspective on the world and interpreting it. A little bit about myself. I am currently in 11th grade attending Trinity Christian School in Sharpsburg, Georgia. I have two older brothers and a younger sister. I attended Clearwater from pre-K through 9th grade. That school was designed for special needs, kind of helped me with learning because that school was built for people with special needs, someone like myself who has a rare condition called Asperger's. To help all of you understand exactly what Asperger's means, I want to talk about the parts of the brain, just in general. First part is the cerebellum. Covers balance, coordination, and posture. Our second part is the hippocampus, or amygdala. Emotions, working memory. Cerebrum lobes. Frontal, front of the brain. Connections. Parietal, the five senses. Occipital lobe, part of the five senses. Seeing, in the back of the head. And temporal, processing memories. Generally, someone who has Asperger's will have a smaller part of the brain, including the cerebellum, hippocampus, and amygdala. For balance, coordination, and posture, cerebellum, it might take us a bit longer to achieve balance, like on a tightrope or walking in a straight line or standing on one foot. Emotions. When I was younger, I got angry very, very quickly. It was irrational, yes. But the fact was I was unhappy. Something was wrong. I don't like change. Change is hard, and it was harder for me in my younger years. However, we have a bigger part of the brain. As a result, there is some negative space that happens in these two parts of the brain. The third is cerebrum lobes. We have a bigger frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and temporal lobe. As a result, we are a little more attuned in our senses and maybe more sensitive to sounds. Some sounds will be louder to us than they are to others. We have challenges, but different challenges from maybe the average person. Those challenges include, but are not limited to, difficulty with social interaction. It's still a learning process for me. Restricted interests. I would only possess interest in a few things. It's partly due to the fact I don't like change. If I found something I liked, I didn't want to change it. If it's something I liked, I wanted to keep doing it. And was very unopen to any other suggestions. Strengths. As a result of not being able to deal with change well, I was able to deal with sameness extremely well, which means I'm able to do repetitive tasks for an extended period of time. For others, that might bore them out of their mind. Not to me. Doing one repetitive task, like setting dominoes on top of each other in a big tower. The last one is just as entertaining as the first. If you told me to do that, I would be fine. If you told someone else to do that, they might think it's the stupidest thing in the world. Another thing I have is I will see some details that might be overlooked or not seen as important. I think that can also have to do with me not being able to deal with change very well. 'Cause I will notice when something changes, which is why if I set a pin on my desk at a 45-degree angle from this portion to that portion, I'm going to notice when I come back if I find it in a 90-degree angle. Symptoms commonly associated with Asperger's include, but are not limited to, difficulty social interactions, nonverbal behaviors, body language. This is a significant one for me. A lot of times, others are able to communicate to each other how they are feeling with body language. That does not come naturally to me. I have to, like a computer, run a series of command prompts to figure out how the person is feeling based on what I'm seeing. Very visual person. Sometimes I will fail to react correctly. I like to refer to myself as computer learning software. It really makes a lot of sense in other areas. People like myself, it is very common to see us revert to common behaviors. Again, not liking change. Things that we've done before that make us happy or just simply occupy us. However, I do not need to constantly be occupied. I can stare at the wall for 2 hours. Think about nothing. I have taken speech therapy, occupational therapy, and I was actually weak in the legs as a boy, and so I took a little bit of physical therapy to get up to speed on where everyone else was averagely a few years earlier. I have learned self-discipline through the help from Clearwater, and self-regulation, and thinking executively, performing plans, doing tasks of my own volition with my own plan and idea in mind. Here are things you can do to relate with people like me. Sometimes you will need to communicate extraordinarily clearly, like more clear than you might deem necessary. Like, I might misinterpret a sentence you say with an implication behind it, or I might misinterpret body language you may have for something else, because something I do is I constantly think about how my actions affect others, be it as something as little as saying hello. And because I constantly think about how my actions affect others, like computer learning, what you do or say might land a spot in my code where I misinterpret it. I also have attention deficit disorder, and I have anxiety. So anxiety definitely plays a role in me not liking change. Sometimes you'll have to double check for my attention because I will zone out. This is the I wanted to include these because these are the teachers at Clearwater. I have learned a lot from them, and I've basically had my childhood there. First, I'd like to thank Mrs. Huber, the one who taught me to read and write. I was only age 5 when she started teaching me, and I did attend Clearwater for 10 years. Mr. Zelsky, he was a person who did outdoor recreational adventures at Clearwater. He taught me to take jokes because I was a very literal person and could not comprehend taking a joke that was, sarcastic about the physical world. Mrs. McSpadden, my art teacher, I've had a lot of conversations with her throughout my years at Clearwater. She taught me a lot about philosophy and thinking about life. I'd like to thank my math teacher, Mrs. Hubbard, who taught me to take responsibility and to choose focus in the midst of distractions. I'd like to thank Mrs. Sack, who taught me to think more flexibly.